Hello, doll friends. This is Michael Panados with the Grovian Doll Museum and the Carmel Doll Shop, and we are getting ready to sew Forget Me Not. Are you excited, Jose?
I could be.
He could be excited, but they're excited.
They are.
So we're going to start today with the Forget Me Not costume. You are getting two patterns. You're getting one for the 17.5, 18-inch doll, and you're also getting one for the new resin body, which is approximately 14.5 inches. So we're going to, today we're going to start with getting the patterns ready and doing any modifications or adjustments. We're going to give you some pointers on that, and then we're going to get into sew. So you might hear today some noises because upstairs they're very busy with the machines going full throttle, and David is busy doing packages, and Eddie's doing screens. So there's going to be a lot of background noises, unfortunately. And then we have three very, very spoiled bulldogs that are in the room. So you can see them here, and you can see Annabelle had an argument with an aloe vera plant, and the aloe vera plant won. So she's not, she didn't get beat up, but so they're here too. So they'll be making their noises, and we are going to start. We are going to start with the pattern pieces. So we have already pre-cut the pattern pieces out, but when you do your download, hey, you under the table, this will be your cover sheet for the pattern, and you will have that if this table survives this. So we've cut out most. Well, we haven't cut it all out, have we?
I didn't cut the front of the dress because you told me we were going to add an inch.
All right.
That's why I didn't.
So what we're going to do, for those of you, the prototype dress, I'd like it to be a little bit longer. It's absolutely okay, and I'll show you. Could you grab the prototype dress? So we'd like it to be a little bit longer. One of the issues that I forgot is that Lillian, who is one of my favorite dolls, has a rather large derriere, and it actually helped hike the dress up. So even though when we were making the pattern and fitting it with the prototype before we actually made it, it wasn't until we did the full fitting that I'd like it to have another inch. Now, that being said, it might work absolutely perfect with yours. If you have a wooden-bodied fashion doll, many kinds of fashion dolls do not have baby got back, so they may not have what she's got. And with her stand, it just pulled it up. If I took her stand off, it would be fine. So we're going to add an inch. So let's do that. So let's just do it on the paper. Don't you think that's the best idea, Jose?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to do that now because we know we need to do that. Get off the tablecloth. Come on. That wasn't Jose, get off the tablecloth. That's one of the fur children that we need to. Bulldogs have no personal boundaries, so we have to cope with that on a daily basis. So we've cut everything. Oh no, we haven't cut everything out yet. All right, so we've got work to do.
Okay,
So we're gonna add. Here's the skinny people. If you're going to add to or modify this pattern for length. What's going on over there?
I have no idea.
Okay. Vic, that's not for you. Those boxes are not for you. Bixby is obsessed with boxes. So he just can't pick a box that he wants. He has to be given it. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is, okay, so we're going to have these bulldogs taken away. Hold on a minute. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. It's calm here for a minute. So what we're going to do is these, when you get your pattern pieces, because of the size of things, you are not going to get a lot of pieces you're going to have to connect together because paper is only 8 by 11 and some of these pieces are longer. So this is where a great thing, if you have length to add, this is how you do it. So you're going to do it between these pieces, and that's where you're going to add your length. So we're going to just tape those together. We're going to tape them so you can see it. So it's right there. That's where we're going to do it. Now, the reason we're going to do it there is it because it's not going to affect in any way we want our ruffles at the bottom to be the size that they are because they're a perfect size. So we don't want to modify that in any way. So this is where we're going to add. If you have to subtract, I suggest you do it in the same area too. So I want to talk to you all about we're going to go right in and make this because we've made it already before. We've made it in muslin a couple of times. We've made it the prototype once, but yesterday we got the reduction done on the 14.5-inch doll, and we made it in muslin. And Jose, could you hand me the doll?
Of course.
So it ended up being a perfect, and maybe you can help me with this because I can't use two hands. It actually turned out to be a perfect fit as far as the length, the arms, all of that. So what we found was a problem was the shoulders. So we've corrected that, and because the resin body shoulders are different than an antique doll. So Lillian Del Monte, who the dress was made to fit, has operatic shoulders. So we did, and we're going to pin it for you and show you how much we removed from the pattern. And this is why it's very important to make sure the vital parts of a costume like this, that you make it in muslin first to make sure you've got you don't want to have a disaster with high quality, expensive materials. So, okay, so where we need to, and Jose, pull up the sleeves. So that's where we have made the modifications. So when you print this out, it will have that. You don't have to modify it. But the point of this exercise right now, I'm talking about it, is all dolls are different. So when you're working with a very fit-orientated pattern like this, you must make the maquette or the mock-up, whatever you want to call it, you've got to make it first. Because the curve of the shoulders on this doll is just different than an antique doll. And that's been eased in, so the sleeves are absolutely fine. And then you can see the length is, when you start to take, this piece is going to have 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So the hem is going to come up 1/8 of an inch. So can we show them the back? So we fit the back. Okay, and then this brings me to another thing. It does not matter as far as the back goes if you add length to the front, because you can see this is like Haley Mills and the Parent Trap. you've got this back cut out, and the train goes over this. So it doesn't matter what we do to the front. It'll be absolutely fine. Okay, so we're going to carry on. So we've added to this, and we're going to cut out all our pattern pieces. And we're gonna do it Jose's way, where he likes to cut the paper and the fabric at the same time. I don't do it that way, but since I can't hold this camera and do that at the same time, we have to do it. We are doing it your way.
We're doing it my way, like Frank Sinatra.
I'm sure you've had a few regrets. But too few to mention. Now the initial part of this pattern, I drafted it, and then everybody puts their 2 cents worth into it, and so that's looking good. And we'll just get it all cut out, and we'll cut it all out, and we're going to. And Jose, could you turn it around so they can see the front of it?
Yes.
All of the patterns in this kit have, or a pattern, have letters and lines. E is joined with E. It's really, really simple. So don't get too wrapped up in it. You just put E to E. And of course, since we're adding length to this, you just follow that dart line when you're actually making it. So we're going to cut all these things out, and we will be right back. So we're back. We have cut out the crucial pattern pieces. We have, and I'm sorry, I misspoke. We do have to add to the back, but it only matters to the back sides, not to the actual back. It'll have no bearing on your train. So we've added to the side 1 inch, and that was very easy. We did it in the same place, the exact same place, and we measured it up. So it will work for you if you do need to do this also. So it is done. So it's, so we've got to just cut out the rest of our pieces. And while Jose's cutting out the pieces, I'll explain. With this pattern, you're going to get a suggested layout. So you'll see that it'll tell you, like for instance, the front and back pieces in the ecru file. It's going to requires a piece 12 by 34, or 34 by 12 if you like. So that's what you'll need for that. Then if you're going to do the soft bustle, also this is done in the ecru, you're going to need a 24 by 12 piece. And then for the bustle back inset in the blue interfacing, which this is going to have a lot of different pieces, you're going to need a piece that's 24 by 23. And then when you get to the swags, these are the pleated pieces that go across the front, you're going to need, and these are on the bias, you're going to need a piece that's 13.5 by 23, and this is also going to, and this is in the blue. You're also going to need this with tarlatan. At the moment I'm showing you this pattern piece, it doesn't say that, but it will say that. And then you have your shoe pieces on that. And then you have another piece with your bows, because you've got lots of bows. You need a piece that's 12 by 12. And hooray, you need a skirt ruffle that needs to be 86 inches by 3 inches. So that's, obviously that's not going to fit on the 12 by 12 piece. So that you just cut in one section. And then you have the bustle back in the ecru, and so it'll all be marked. If you are not, we are going to have 3 groups of fabric available. It'll be all pre-cut into these sections. And if you like, you won't have to think about that. But if you're doing your own fabric, you're going to need these statistics. So, what are we doing now?
Okay, we're doing assembling the dress. Okay, so in your instructions, we have this part right here, which is going to be part 1. Okay, so we already have a piece of fabric on the ecru, pre-cut of 34 by 12.
Okay.
On the fold.
On the fold.
On the fold. So the way you see it here on this form, that's how you are going to place your patterns.
It makes sense because you see, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but you see in the file, there are the people that don't own file, it has a ribbing, it's almost a stripe. The stripe is going to be cut on the horizontal, not the vertical. It could be either way, really, except that the original garment that this is based on, the file is running horizontal, and that is what we're doing because it's the right way to the design.
Okay.
You got it all pinned down?
That's the way it should be.
And you're going to pin it.
And we're going to pin it.
And then we're also going to, when we're done with this, we're going to cut out the lining, which is going to be the exact same. The lining in this dress is exquisite silk. As we were getting this prepared, we realized that I thought that we would put some stiffener into the bodice, but they're really, by the time this fabric is sewn together, and it has a lining and it has all of the seams, it's pretty stiff, which it should be. This is not a flowy, airy-fairy dress. This is a heavy-duty garment. So we'll go ahead and continue pinning this, and we'll get it cut out, and then we will be back. So we have pinned the pieces, and wasn't that a joyful experience, Jose, to pin the pattern pieces?
Yes.
This fabric is built to last 150 plus years, so it is not the easiest. This is not normal dolly material. This is high fashion couture, made to last sculptural pieces,
For
don't
people.
you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we have made many costumes, hundreds, I'm sure, in this establishment out of this type of material of every color that you can imagine. So this is absolutely historically correct. So now we're going to cut it out Jose's way. His way is different than mine, but when you get your pattern, it'll say the team worked on this too. And of course, it kills me what he does with the scissors, but they're his scissors, so.
What am I doing with my scissors?
Yeah, sometimes you get the paper in it and you cut it, but it's yeah.
Okay.
I have to be careful, he might stab me with it.
No.
Well, sometimes you, Jose has
That was supposed to be a secret,
Jose has he has a temper, so you have to watch it.
Okay, like I mentioned to Michael, I'm not cutting exactly around the lines because I'm going to lay these pieces on the silk, on the underlining silk. Okay.
Yes. All right. So we'll just watch you. I'll do what you tell me to. There's a lot of in what we do give and take, and we do our thing, and I work with Jose and he works with me, and then we've done what we've done, and then along comes David, and then he just rains on everybody's parade. And the thing that's so irritating is he's always right, and it can be quite annoying, but he's always right. And it really is. I'm just kidding. It's not really annoying because we want to do the best we can with whatever we're doing. So however that happens, and who's ever got the right idea, that's what we do. All of these little scraps that you're gonna, these are gonna, if you buy our packaging of this group, you're gonna have these scraps, and you need them in case something goes wrong. You need them in case of you're sizing the costume up, to make it bigger. And we had no problem fitting this in, did we, with the extra inch?
Nope.
No, just fit right in. But if you don't need it, there's enough to do a gorgeous hat or to trim cuffs.
Cover some buttons.
Cover a lot of buttons.
A lot of buttons, yep.
So, and then there's still more.
Yep, we save it all.
We call it's our cabbage. We use that for...
like this. There's not much you can do with these pieces over here.
Some of it you can. That's garbage, but this is definitely cabbage here. So cabbage is what we're going to make our slaw out of later. And this is an expensive fabric, so you really do want to get as much use out of it as possible. So now we're going to bring in, this is your silk lining, and we have not pre-cut this because we just ran out of steam. But now we're going to, when you receive it, you will get this pre-cut, and it'll be the same size as the file. So again, you'll have enough left over to do, and it's beautiful, just a beautiful fabric. So now we're going to lay this down, and this is good enough to make a doll dress out of, but this is, in actuality, this is your lining material for this costume. If you hear snoring and grunting, that's Louie. He's down here with us. The Bixby and Annabelle got banished. They got kicked out. Louie likes it down here because it's cool but he's 10 years old, so he does get restless. So Jose's just pinning this right on top of the file, or the file right on top of the silk lining material. That's it.
That's how I'm going to pin
it, and then we're going to cut it. We'll get this pinned because it's not an easy thing to pin. We'll pin it up, and then we will be back for the cutting. So we've got our pieces pinned. We're going to do it Mr. Jose's way. So we're going to go in. Let's do it. And Bixby's back, so hopefully he's going to be good, or he'll get banished. So we've got that looking good. You're going to have less stress with cutting because you're going to have to be working with a smaller piece if you're buying our packaging of this, so it won't be quite as. And we really, really need you to buy our packaging because we need the money for our scissors to be sharpened. Getting all those cuts done. I don't know if you can hear Lou snoring, but he's really going to town. So Jose's technique is a great technique for doing 2 layers of, yeah, so that's nice and sharp, so that looks really good. You won't have seam allowances on the pattern pieces, but if you're doing the full size, the seam allowance is 1/4 of an inch. And if you're doing the 14-inch doll, it's 1/8 of an inch. And some people have a problem with 1/8 of an inch, but 1/8 of an inch is 1/2 of a 1/4. So it's, sometimes I have to actually look at a ruler to remind myself what that is. If it's not, I can see it. When we have people in our classes that are from Europe, we usually have a converter for them because they're working in the metrics. So we've got this cut out. It looks really very good. We're going to get the rest cut out, and then we will be back and we will do what's next. So while Jose is getting some things prepared behind the scenes, I'm going to show you how to prepare the ribbon work that's going to go in your seam binding. So if you notice that I've started this with the machine, the iron, and I'm just going to fold over the ribbon that we're going to use for the seam binding, and I'm going to just pull it. And I'm going to let it sit there for a little bit under this hot iron, and I'm going to pull it, and once I started the fold, once I pull it through, it's going to come out perfectly as we need it. So we're just going to keep doing that. Occasionally I'll make sure it's standing. And we just keep doing that. This I've found is the easiest way to prepare ribbon. And I'm going to go over here now and just get it prepared and just keep pulling it. And I'll go a little farther into the iron. See how nice it's coming out? And you're going to need a lot of this because all of those seams, every single seam in this garment is bound with silk ribbon. And that, I messed up a little bit there, so I'll just pull it out and just keep going and just let it sit for a second. The iron is really nice and hot. Bixby thinks that this is a game. This is not a game, Bixby. And I think we've probably got enough right now. When you get your sheet, it'll tell you how many inches of this you'll need to do. But right now we haven't gotten that far yet. That'll be next day or so. We'll figure that out. Okay, so we've got a nice amount. It's looking really nice, and that'll get us. Oh, that'll get us through a couple of hours of sewing. All right, we'll be back. Okay, so we've got the bulk of the front cut out. Then here's the next thing that we're going to do. If you look in your pattern pieces, you'll see that the interfacing front of the dress says blue. which is what Forget-Me-Not is. But Lillian Del Monte already has a blue dress. So we have decided to do one in peach. And this little set is going to be called Remember Me. So we're going to cut this out in peach. But before we do that, we're going to show you how we are going to cut out the dart in the front. This dart is very important for this type of dress. So we're using a rotary cutter. We're cutting right through the pattern piece. And it went right through. Now this could be dangerous, so be very careful when you're doing it. Not overcut. Take your time. So you got the initial cut in. Now we're going to go back and clean it up a little bit. So we're going to do that.
Okay, I think it looks good.
It looks really good.
There you go.
So then the next step we're going to cut out, which is really easy, we're going to cut out the interfacing. This is not like a traditional interfacing. This is a decorative. It is there for decorative purposes. Okay, you got to get under there. You got to get yourself situated, or you're going to get banished. I mean, everybody has their own way of cutting things out. Jose has his way, and my way is my way is like slow motion. His is kung fu cutting. Now we're cutting this out now because we're going to very, very shortly need this. I think this is one of the crenellation is one of the most complicated parts of this pattern, and certainly for drafting the pattern was one of the challenges. Okay, so we have cut that out, the interfacing. It's on the fold, and it looks really good. So the next thing that we really have to do now is we're going to remove the pins, and now we have to do some basting for the darts, because what would happen if we didn't baste the darts?
You will have a hard time sewing the dart. So my advice is that you baste it around here.
Before you even sew it.
Yes, before.
Because if you try to save a step by not basting it, because you've got to get the lining and the outer material to join together, it will just slip out of the way. Don't you agree?
Yes. Okay, so.
And then quality control will come
Quality
in.
controlling, it's still around here, so.
So we're going to put that on. And then we're going to baste it.
Okay, now
And
we're
we're going
going
to do that by hand.
pin this in place. That way it doesn't. Okay. Just pin it here and there. You don't have to pin the whole thing around.
Because we're gonna make sure that we catch all the catch the pieces together. But you know what? If you feel that you need to pin it all around, then please
Absolutely. Go ahead and do that.
Yeah. I mean, you can't go by Mr. Jose, because he does. You know, he could do this with his hands. Well, he could do it with one hand, and I'm not allowing him to show you how he can knot threads with two fingers, because it really is showing off.
Okay, so that's what you want to do, and you do it on both
pieces. Mm-hmm. And we are doing a couture dress. That means a couture dress today and in the 19th century means that it is made for the client. So this dress is being not made for any old doll out there in the world. This is being made, it's not ready to wear. This is couture. So we are doing this for Lillian Del Monte. So this has to fit her. The blue dress that we've already done for her is absolutely fine for her because she is a prima donna assoluta. And she needed her dress a little shorter so that way she didn't have problems with stairs and falling down the stairs on stage. But this is going to be for her private use. So it's going to be a little longer and it's going to be made for her. It's going to be made to fit her. And that is what couture is. And if you went to a fashion show in Paris right now, well, not right now, but say last season, and you were lucky enough to be invited to a show that had the couture, and that you were lucky enough to be invited to buy it, an evening gown, you might pay $100,000 for it. And then it would be tailored to fit you. Now, if you were model size, the size of the model, meaning they didn't have to do any alterations, you could get a 30% discount. And that would be an incredible savings off of $100,000. But you know what? Anyone who has those garments, they're very special because they do everything to make it for them. Okay, so let's do our couture. We know that this as far as Lillian's body and all these darts, all this is ideal for her. So Jose's just going to do a little running stitch around, basting stitch. You're doing small stitches. You can do big ones. You can do big ones.
Yes.
This is just about holding it together. And you can hear that sound. You only get that sound with the good stuff. The cheap fabric it just is kind of almost slimy. This has a crispness to it. We have a nice supply of the file, but not a huge supply. And then we ordered more yardage. And, with all the things that are going on in the world today, the supply chain and the delivery chain and everything is so problematic. But, we'll do the best we can to get everything done. So we're going to sew this, by the way, we're going to sew this gown by machine. This would be absolutely at the period we're dealing with, which is about 1879 to 1880. The machine was in full use. The House of Worth used machines. Not only did they use machines for hems of all their ruffles, and the ruffle on this ensemble is done by machine, and I actually suggest that you do it by machine. And this will be done by machine because really when we're going to be pulling this dress so tight that I don't think hand stitches would work. They just wouldn't work. It would bust open. Lillian's an opera singer, so really opera singers love to have their costumes very, very tight because it helps with breaths. It helps support the breath. So they can sing out with less air. Okay, so we've got that part done, and we're going to do the other part, and we will be back. So we're going to start, we've got the darts basted in. We have our pieces pinned, and it's kind of, when you look at this, it's kind of hard to believe that this front is made from these pieces because it looks very horsey and boxy. But by the time we do all of our darts and our side seams and the back, this becomes this beautiful, very fitted princess line dress. So okay, Jose, I was going to help him pin, but he wasn't, he didn't like the way I was pinning. So I got told, no.
No, it's because I want you ladies to know the step by step.
And men.
Ladies and men. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so I pin this side. You can pin this side too, but whichever side. Okay, so we bring this like so.
And you've pinned it, and then you're just
grab the pins.
You're just going to snatch your little pins.
Okay, you don't want any pleats on either side.
We do not want any pleats. And we don't at this point recommend doing any more basting because it just then starts to be too much. And we're gonna do this. We're gonna sew this up pretty darn quick, right?
Yes, it's the next thing we're gonna do.
We're gonna sew this up, and then that way we're not having any.
You're gonna start like 1/8 of an inch
above the cut.
Above the cut. Okay.
And by the way, these darts are not necessarily like a breast dart. So they're not going to start at the place where a breast would be. And we're doing how many stitches per inch?
10 inches.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 stitches per inch, sorry.
And that's a very good for this garment.
Don't do this at home, please. I'm just gonna continue on without.
Yes. Don't do it unless you know how to do it. If they know how to do it, go ahead. But if you don't, we don't want to be the one to.
Okay. Remove the pins.
And then we hope that it all looks perfect. If not, then that looks pretty darn perfect.
See the stitchings you did by hand? They do not supposed to show on this side.
Yes.
Okay, so now
The dart or
the basting.
basting.
Okay, now I'm going to pin
Now we're going to sew the front seam together.
Okay, so I'm gonna bring the other side. Should I slow down?
No, you're doing all right. You're
Okay,
doing all right.
I'm not so hyper today.
Now remember when we're doing this for the larger size, so our seam allowance is 1/4 of an inch. And if you're doing it for the smaller size, it's 1/8 of an inch. So I will try to remind you throughout this because we're not going to teach both items. But I want you to remember, look at your pattern. It will say 1/8 of an inch. 1/8 of an inch is 1/2 of 1/4 of an inch. It's a better for the smaller dolls. And for this type of fabric, it's just a better seam allowance. Don't you agree?
Yes.
And of course, a lot of Hure garments, the allowance is equivalent to 1/8. Not always, but a lot of them. So you've got that pinned. Now we're going to sew that.
A 1/4 of an inch.
10 stitches per inch, which if you've got one of these old singers like Rosie, it's no problem finding that. You just push the lever till you hit number 10. Again, if you hear snoring, it's not us. It's the fur babies. They've all calmed down. It takes them a while. Okay, you can see it's already starting to take shape. It's the next stage we're going to do is we're going to press it out, and then we're going to we are not going to press the seams open. We're going to press them folded over. This is a little different technique than what is normally done. Normally with a simple outfit,
Only the center seam gets open, and these darts get just folded to each side.
So we're going to open it, and we are not going to overcast it because these are going to get all bound with the ribbon. So we're going to press that out. I'll come over there with you, and while we're going over, I'll let you have a little look at Bix. He's having a good nap. Let you look at Lillian a bit. So we're going to just press those out. We're pressing it out just so that we can kind of see what we got. This is really the moment of truth of whether this is going to be the quality that we want. And we're going to press it all out, and then we're going to look at it, and then we're going to do the seam binding all at once. Because the seam binding is something you can do while you're watching television or listening to some incredible music. And of course, you're making Forget-Me-Not. We made this for Lillian. You could go listen to Maria Callas. It would be very appropriate. So that is looking really, really nice. This one needs a little bit more pressed there. We've got a little fold. But guess what? When we start to lace this up, nothing's going to be folded over. It's going to be pulled to the tightest maximum it can. That's looking really good. I'm satisfied with that. Is that just a miracle? There you go. Now you can see the garment's already changed its shape, and it's going to start changing even more as we add more seams. All right. So, next step.
Next step. Okay. Let me put this on the side, and I'm going to bring
The bodice back.
the bodice back.
So note that this bodice back does not, it's not the size of the front, because there is a soft bustle that will go up to the back, and she's got a lot of freedom in her rear area.
I guess there is a wrong and right side on the file fabric, isn't there, Michael?
I don't think there is.
You don't think there is? Okay.
No. Do you see anything? I don't.
Slightly there is, but not really.
No,
Okay,
I don't think
okay.
there is.
So
With my eyesight, there's no problem with that. Now, with the interfacing material, there is a right and a wrong side. And both sides, don't you think both sides are gorgeous
yes,
of the interfacing? I mean, we do know that one is right and one is wrong.
we are going to encase this, okay? And I'm going to show you how.
And it's very important that this piece be particularly as strong as possible. And what Jose is doing is going to make it strong, because this has to be able to handle the lacing. And let me tell you, you need to be tough to lace up a Victorian dress.
Okay, I'm just going to encase from here to here.
Okay.
Okay,
And you're going to do that at about 1/8 of an inch.
1/8 of an inch.
Now, in fitting, this is the crucial piece that to get this to fit. This is where you have your little wiggle room for your fit, is in the back. I mean, if you had a doll with a particularly big torso, you can add in other places, but this is where you're going to find your extra integrity.
Yes.
And on your pattern, there's no fold over directions, because you have to fit it on the doll. We fit it on Lillian, and it seems to all be fine, but then she's got a very wide upper shoulder plate, and it was a little snug. It worked, but it was a little snug. So this one, because this is going to be for her pleasure dress, this one will be fitted a little better. So you see, so down 1/8 of an inch, the back opening and the bottom. So it's sewn to the outer fabric. It's fully lined.
Going to make a clip right here at the corner.
And do you see what that is, people? That is the point. It's being clipped off. And if you've watched any of our other videos, like the Please Chanel video, Mademoiselle Please Chanel, Monsieur, you now do that at every time you make an outfit. So So look how easy that was for him to get a nice point.
Yes, I learned that at sewing school. So.
Did you? Oh,
Yes,
good.
of course. Yes.
I didn't know you went to sewing school.
Well, sewing, I took some sewing classes back in the early 90s, back when I was young.
When you were a young one?
Yeah. Yes.
Jose can make men's shirts, so, there's not too many people that can do that. And
I prefer to make ladies' clothes. It's much easier.
Isn't it easier? Men's clothing.
Men's clothes, I used to make my own pants and shirts, and,
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
I mean, let's face it. If you make a mistake on a men's clothing, you have to correct it. If you make a mistake on a doll dress, you can just put a bow on it and cover it up. So he's doing that again. He's using his pointer to ease it out. We've got that. This is a very important step. Now, don't think that area, we're not finished with it. This is just housekeeping to get it to this stage, because we still have more to do with it. So that's good.
Okay, so now that we have, I can do a little better right here. So, well, it's not going to show anyway, so I'm going
But
to
it
leave it.
doesn't matter if it shows or not. It has to be done right. But it's not going to show. So
It's not going to show.
Don't.
No, because we're going to fold that again. This is going to get folded.
Yeah.
So,
But we don't want it bunchy. But we're not going to fold it yet, because we're not going to do that, people, until we're at the stage of fitting.
fitting, yes.
So if you went to the House of Worth and you had a gown done, they're not going to really do any of that part until the very, very end of the fit.
Okay, well, I pinned it a little. And we have a little bit of extra of the silk interfacing. So I'm just going to go ahead and clip that. Just so that when we sew, when we do our seams, you get straight seams.
Yeah.
And more than straight seams, you just want to get the fabric sewn right. So
Right. We don't want slipping out.
yeah.
Because this is supposed to be and is an expensive dress, so we want it to be as perfect as we can. I mean, this is definitely not the most complicated dress we've done, but it is a complicated dress. We have one pattern that I made many years ago, and we use it regularly, the Couture Dress, and it could make a person cry just from the amount of handwork that has to be done. So we've got that, and now we have to put it together with its lining. So these are the side pieces. So the side pieces are going to curve into here. So
I'm just going to pin the silk file first, okay?
Yeah, because if you try to do two, it'll all slide, huh?
Yes.
So we'll get this pinned and we'll come back. So we're back, and we thought, you know what, it's time to show you where we're going with this project. So this is how your project is going to look from the inside. So as you can see, we've got all the seams are bound. There are weights throughout the costume, as was typical of the time period. We've got the ties in the back that were not disintegrated in the original, but were there originally. And we're just showing you all this because this is what it takes to do this. And there you can see the back. It's not laced up because it takes some time to lace it, but that's what it looks like from the inside. So we are making this. And in a lot of ways, the inners is as much work as the outers. Don't you agree?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
So here we are. Next, please, sir.
Okay, we are attaching the back, the side back to the back.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
And I'm going to encase that seam. How do I encase it? Okay, first, you do the, whichever is the side that you, okay, is the right side to right side of the back.
Right.
Okay? Once you got that pin, then you are going to proceed to do the underlining on the back.
Okay.
And I'm like this far. I pin all this, and I'm gonna finish pinning
So
this.
you've got, now let's, so you've already pinned it to the back with the file.
With the file. Now I'm
And now
pinning the
you're going the other
interface.
side with the lining material.
Correct.
And then we're going to encase it.
By doing that, it'll be encased.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now turn it the other way so that way everybody can see it. So there's one side.
Okay, I'll show you the one that's finished.
Okay, that's pinned on one side. Hold on, let me get the camera. Hold on, Kung Fu sewer. Okay, so in between that is the actual back piece.
The back piece.
So it's between, it's sandwiched.
It's a sandwich.
So you're
yes.
making a sandwich. Okay,
Yes.
now we can sew it and we're going to have a,
Okay, I'm gonna finish doing the pinning the second one.
you know, David does the editing for, when we do kits, he does my editing. And I have to explain this to him in words and so that he can understand. And sometimes sometimes I want to cry because this is something that would be very difficult to explain. But if you see someone doing it, it's so much easier than putting it into words. I know there's many people that do great patterns that can put that into words, but
Okay, so
now
gonna
we're going to
do-
sew it.
I'm gonna do.
So you're starting at the bottom.
I'm gonna start right at this corner right here, and I'm gonna continue on with 1/8 of an inch.
Okay.
Okay.
So this
a
is
little
an
bit.
1/8 of an inch, people. So this is within your 1/2 inch seam allowance. So that when this is sewn, it's going to be sewn to it's going to be sewn. No, this is the outside. No, this is the inside. Yes, correct?
Yes.
So this will be the inside. So you're going to sew this one more time after this.
No, this is it.
Oh no, this
This
is
is
it.
it. Oh, you
Okay.
only saw it
All right.
once, and
Oh yes, okay.
I'm gonna
got it.
show you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you show me. It's been a long week. Show me.
well, it's because you didn't put it together.
Yeah, you
I
put it.
saw. Yeah.
So when you follow what he's doing, don't listen to
I'm
moi.
gonna sew the other one.
So this particular seam, we're doing at 1/8 of an inch instead of 1/2 of an inch. You might have to watch this segment more than once because to get the understanding of what's going on. You're doing a little bigger stitches here, aren't you?
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, well, don't do that again. Those are big stitches.
This is hard to, you know. Leo's machine, he established the inches he wants per minute, and that's it. Mine,
Well-
I have to do it by hand. Yeah.
Ours is This is Rosie. Rosie's she's an old girl. She's worked way harder than Leo's machine. And she needs a, so make sure you do this at 10 stitches per inch. But this is going to be okay because this is...
It's a silk file, you know, it's okay.
It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And this part is not going to get that much stress put onto it either.
I'm going to clip this a little bit, okay? That way you'll make a finer seam. Okay, it's sewn. Here you have the right side. Here you have the back side, and that's encased.
Yes. And then this
It's encased.
it's encased, and this is basically well, not basically, that is the back opening. So the back opening is going to be beautifully finished. If you were going to look, well, we've got an example right here to show them. So here you can see this is what it's going to look like.
See, this part right here is basically this, right?
That's right there.
It's right.
So this does save you a little bit of where you don't have to bind the seam. So that's very nice, and it's not really taking any pressure. So those oversized stitches will be fine. So we're going to press this out, and then we will be back. While we're back, we've got the sides all sewn, and we've got them now pinned, and now we're going to do the next step. So the next step, I think what we should do, since Lillian is ready, and we should just take a second to make sure we're going in the right direction with the front, and to make sure that we've got a fit. We've done this before, but you know what? It's always, measure twice, cut once. So it looks to me, you can already see the shape starting to take place. So I think that that's very good. And you can see this is just a gorgeous, gorgeous fabric to work with. It's really, really lovely. The seams look really good. Okay, so let's put the top together. So tell our audience what the next step is.
We're going to sew the shoulders.
We're going to sew the shoulders. Now remember that this is an area that dolls have different shapes. So when you make your maquette or your muslin piece, this is an area that you're going to have to deal with because they are all different. Lillian has got kind of a little bit of a linebacker shoulders, but other dolls have sloping, which we found out with the Hire. So we're going to get that pinned.
Okay, 1/4 of an inch. Number 10.
Number 10.
Before I get my ass busted.
It didn't affect anything, the bigger stitch.
No, because it's a silk file and
It's tough.
it's tough, yes.
Yeah, but we need to be consistent. But nobody's perfect. Except David. David's perfect. And these seams are going to be pressed out, and they're also going to be bound. So and I think we could press them out now, and then we could fit them on. just again to make sure that we're within our.
I can actually go ahead and sew the sides.
Okay, yeah, and then we can do
okay.
it all at once.
So,
Sure.
since we have the pins here already, then that gets put like that. And I'm going to match my ends right here.
And the crenellation on this dress is very important because that is half of the design. You know, there isn't a whole lot of stuff on the dress. It really is the crenellation and then the trim around the neck and the arm, and that is really it. There's no, you know, trims. There's no ribbons. There's nothing except the crenellation as a design. Of course, the armhole is another area that, you know, you might have a doll with, you know, jumbo arms. So that's another area that you really have to check to make sure that this works before you start cutting into precious fabric. And the good news is Lillian does have nice ample arms. So this should work for most. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing to the other side, and then we will come back and we will sew it all up. So we've got it all pinned. Can you lift that up and just show them? It's all pinned. We are ready to go, and we are going to just sew it up. Again, we're doing 1/4 inch seam allowance with 10 stitches per inch. Of course, Rosie, when you sew, the whole table vibrates. Leo has a machine upstairs. It's like a bazooka going off. One of the specialties of his machine is it can do beautiful quilting work. So those that are buying the kits that we have available, Garde de Lyon, not Garde de Lyon, but Maison Chocolat and Tron Blue, he's going to pre-quilt the capes because we just feel that most people don't have the machines that could really do that work. And his quilting is incredible, don't you think so, Jose?
Yes. It's also the machine.
The machine's,
his technique.
his technique is really great.
Stop it, Rosie. Let me do 10. Now, since you're making tiny, I don't know if some of you ladies sew over the pins, but making tiny stitches, I don't recommend it.
No.
Because you'll break the sewing machine.
And we're due for some more needles. You know, everything these days is really difficult. Every product that we need is an issue.
Okay.
So we're going to press it out and...
I'm going to press out the sides and the shoulders. Okay.
Okay, let's do that. Just press those open. Got those looking really good.
Gonna use my magic tool.
That's a good idea. I usually use my own finger. You've been holding that. You must love it when I screamed that I burned myself. And you could have told me to get one of those a long time ago. That's a great idea. You're holding out. I guess I have to pay extra for little tips like that.
The less you know about me, the better. I had this pointer since the mid-90s. I use it in my sewing classes, so
Yeah,
it's been...
but for you, for your age, that's a long, long time ago. For me, that was like 2 minutes ago. All right, now that I guess we got it. Oh, just about. Okay. Okay. Lillian, where are you? Okay, let's do it. Let's give it a try. I'll turn over here in case we have to scream because it's a disaster. I have to scream because it's a disaster. And we have
I think it's great.
a fabulous fit. Okay, so I think that you've done such a nice job with the fit that you could go have an ice cream break.
Oh, thank you.
So, okay, we're back from a little coffee break, and I offered Jose some chocolate and cinnamon ice cream that I got from my dealer, and he didn't want any. So, well, oh well.
Tomorrow, absolutely.
So we're now doing seam binding, and I need somebody to bind my seams. So basically, you can see Jose's already done one, and he's going to do another. So it's basically a decorative finish, but it does add something to the inner construction of the gown. So we're gonna do that. I've already pressed that, as I showed you earlier, out, and all he has to do is do a little tiny trim where it's gotten a little fuzzy.
Yeah, you don't want the fuzzy because it'll interfere with when you're placing the tape.
Yeah, so
It'll give you a hard time.
We're gonna just do a little trim. We're just gonna do one because we want to move on. This is the part that really you can, sit and enjoy while you're listening to some wonderful music or a great documentary. I never sew with trash television on. I always like to sew with something beautiful or intellectual. So we're going to trim it, and then we're going to start to sew it.
Okay.
And it's all been prepared.
You already showed them how to do this.
I did that.
Yes.
I did it.
Okay.
See, I still have value here at this place. I showed them. I filmed it and I did it. So we're not pinning this because it would just be a nuisance.
The curve is a little tricky. But,
The curve is tricky.
Yeah.
Because basically the ribbon is a form of a ribbon file. It's just very hard to see the little ribs, and really the only way to go around the curve is to use something on the bias, but the ribbon, of course, isn't on the bias. And a pointer is a good idea to use when you're doing this. It's a lot easier than working with your fingers. Annabelle's come down to join us, so she's just settled in and she's doing some serious snoring. So you're just going in, taking a little flea bite stitch, going in about, what, 1/8 of an inch in the inner, and then coming back up, correct?
Yeah.
So we're just going to do this. That's all there is to it. You just have to be very patient. You have to make sure that you catch through to the other side. And I can guarantee that you can feel the little prick of the pin when it goes in the other side, and then he knows it's connected. And if we don't make the connection, then we will take it out and we will do it till it is right, correct?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to just finish this one seam, and then we're going to be back, and then we're going to move on to something a little more exciting, because this is a lot of work that has to be done to get the inners ready. So what are we going to do next?
Okay, we're going to do the
interfacing.
the interfacing. Okay.
So this is your crenellated interfacing, and I will tell you honestly, we laid this down earlier when the pieces were uncut, and it seemed kind of strange, like it wasn't going to even work. Well, guess what, people? It doesn't work until you put all the pieces together. And then when you put all the pieces together, it just falls right into place. You can see that. So what is the first step that we have to do?
The first step is I'm going to press fold the top of the crinoline, the interfacing, I'm sorry. This part right here to 1/8 of an inch.
Okay, so let's go do that. So it's just a little simple little press. It's going to make what we have to do easier when it comes time to connect it. And you could use a little misting. We're not doing that right this second, but you could. Or if you've got a great steam iron. And we probably should press it all out just to get it uncurled a little bit, because it tends to curl. This is a gorgeous slipper satin. And what's so fabulous about it is we're going to use the shiny side, the satiny side, but the matte side is gorgeous too, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, you really could use both in a design where you could use both together, where you could have the gloss and then the matte. All right, we've got that. And now
we have the right side. We'll place it on the right side of the
so the right side, which means finished sides to finished sides. So we're going to put the outside of the garment to the outside of the interfacing crenellated piece. Because when we flip it over, we want the outside of the crenellated piece to be in the inside of the garment. And I'll just give you an example. Show you this. Well, I guess I can't show you this. No, it's all very nicely encased. So I'm sorry I can't show you anything.
Okay, and right here at the last point, I'm going to do a fold. Okay.
And you're folding it back.
Folding it back.
And that's going to make a beautiful finish where you can. Now again, this is a finish that isn't, the public is never going to see it unless they go up and look under her dress. But we know it's there. And one thing we're going to do while we sew this, this interfacing down, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to sew the neckline. It's going to be basically a basting stitch, but we're going to do it with we're going to use 10 stitches per inch, and we're going to go just a little bit under 1/8 of an inch around the neckline. And the reason we're going to do that is we want to get the neckline strong, and then we are going to bind the neckline with the ribbon. And
at this end, the same.
Oh, turn it this way so they can see that again. Okay, so we've got this little fold piece. So what you're going to do is you take those pins out, and then we're going to fold it just like so. So don't freak out when you try to match this up in the pattern piece phase of making this. And there you go.
Okay. You might want to also try to pin this seam open down.
Yeah, pin those down.
So now.
No, we have not, in full disclosure, we have not done all the seams because we don't want you to get this video next month. But we will do that.
Okay, I think it's looking pretty good, but we have a little bit of extra of the pink showing here. And in order for you to get more straight stitching as we saw, then I'm gonna go ahead and do a little clipping here.
Okay. You gotta clip it.
Clip it.
Clip it.
Just a little bit, wherever you need it.
But really, by the point that you're doing this yourself, you should have all of your seams already binded. So they should all be binded. We'll go in a couple of days and finish it all up. But we're just going to get the bulk of this done so that you can have it. You can't have, Rachel's not going to let you have this video until it's done. not much. It's just little,
Just a little bit.
yeah, just a little bit.
It's all right, but it's looking a little cleaner.
Just a little more defined.
Yes.
And by cutting those little wee bits off, we don't have bulk to deal with because we want this to be very, very, very sleek. So let's do it. Let's do this. We can do it. So again, we're going to use 10 stitches per inch, and we're going to do this at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So even, that's going to raise this up a bit. Skirt shorter.
And just take your time because you want to do this.
Yeah. Absolutely. We want this very as straight as we can get it. In this camera, the screen, the fabric is looking kind of slightly pink, but it is a pale coral. It's a very beautiful color.
I use my hands too, because I don't want to sew over.
Right. Yeah, you just turn it into
a couple more stitches here.
I mean, if we could get supplies coming back, we could be actually working with Opal. And Opal's belt for those of you that haven't seen Opal, this is Opal. Turn around, Opal. Oh, there's Opal. So that's Opal. And she does beautiful work. It's a beautiful machine, but she does beautiful work. Opal can do really, really tiny stitches. Leo's very good at working with the treadle machines. I try to bring sewing machines into the building when David doesn't really notice. What I'll do is I'll buy them and then I'll have the guys go collect them. That old machine, we've had that forever. That's looking very uniformed. This one you want to get right because this is a big part of the decoration of the dress. Is these crenellation and the little
couple more inches here.
Points.
Excuse me, stitches.
Now, if we were doing this and this was a big piece, we would not turn like this. We would have gone to the end and then started again, but these are small pieces. Jose's had a relationship with Rosie for how long? 17 years.
Yeah, can you believe it?
When you two hit the 20 mark, we'll give you a big party. I can tell you that I did not cause all the wear on the front. That is just, that is like, that's life right there, all that wear. I don't really like sewing over pins either. When I'm working, I do the same thing. Although it's not very often I actually use the machine. Most of my sewing that I do, these guys are so good at this. And Leo's machine only works for Leo, correct?
Yeah.
It will not.
And maybe me.
Maybe you. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Very good. I mean, he certainly uses it, but it does not take kindly to. To strangers. I wonder what he named his machine.
We have to come up with a name. You know.
Oh, no, you don't.
And also the new one, you know.
Yeah. We have a new big monster upstairs that's almost like a factory machine. But what I really want is a treadle machine that does the chain stitch, the decorative chain stitch. That's what I really want. And I will argue with David to get that if I ever run across one.
Okay. Looks like we got it. And let's just make sure. It's looking pretty good on the back too.
Looks great. Okay, so now we have to clip it.
Clip it.
And then turn it.
I'm going to do the corners first.
So those of you that don't know, you maybe haven't seen our Felice Chanel video where we do quite a bit of this. He goes up and he clips it to the thread, the stitches. Not through the stitches, just up to the stitches. And that's going to make it ease in better.
Okay, now you don't want that bulkiness either, so I'm going to go ahead and trim this about so.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't want that. And we definitely don't want that. These are two, these are not dolly weight fabrics. These are couture weight fabrics. So you've got to ease it up a little bit. Jose does them in order.
In order, one direction.
You always go in one direction.
That's the way I do it. You don't have to do it like that.
Yeah, do it the way that works for you.
Yep. This last one here, maybe. And also the points, okay?
So what we're doing is we're just snipping the points off. So don't go into the stitching line because you will then
create a hole.
Yeah, you'll bust out. So don't do that. So you do have to be very careful. Jose can do it quick. So we are going to
flip this around.
We're going to flip that around, but we're going to stop for just 1 second so that the crew can go home. The night owls will stay here and work, but the crew's got to go home. So we'll let them. We'll be right back. So we've got that all sewn in. We've got it clipped. Now we're going to start to turn. So first, what do you do, Mr. Jose?
Just
first,
trying to flip it over as much as I can with my finger. Okay.
You're being gentle.
Gentle. No.
And try to be gentle and slow because he gets bored if things are done too slow. But do we have a problem?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think I cut too much. So it's okay. This happens. That way I can show you what to do if that happens to you. Okay,
let's fix it.
So
because nobody's perfect. So he cut too far. He was doing kung fu cutting. So now we're going to just go in and just go up a little higher and sew it down. Again, this doesn't no harm, no foul, because no one will ever see that. And it's not going to change really the way the garment looks. But it's better to catch it now than when it just pops out of the...
You're using your pointer very gently as well, you know.
Start easing it out.
See how beautiful that is?
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some people uses the tips of their scissors to do this.
No. Bad.
I know some people have the talent to use them, and
But you can just cut right through it.
yeah, not a good idea.
And you know, we're using very strong material, but if you're using antique material and you do that, it'll just tear right through it. And that's one of our little squares.
Yep, it's giving me a little bit of hard time.
You can do
But
it.
I'm fighting back, you know. Okay, there.
And that's a little trick. Everybody's got a pin you can use to kind of pull the ones that are the stubborn ones.
Yes, this one in the center will give you a hard time because it's got the seam.
The two seams.
The two seams, yeah. That'll.
Or the one seam. I guess it's a one seam, but it's the two sides. And it will give you a hard time. Do I need to get you an ice pack?
No, it's just that my fingers get tired.
I don't understand why.
Because I'm been pulling, you know.
I have no idea why that would give you a problem with you're so much younger than I am, and I can do that. I can do that from sitting over here.
See, use a pin too. That will
helps
make
pull
it
out.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we'll keep working this, and then we will show you the next step. So we have turned out the interfacing, and I think it's come out very, very nice. The next step we have to do is press it. This is the time that we're going to press it. So we're going to turn it over. We're going to press it down nice. That was a 1/4 inch seam allowance to make that all happen. And you can see we've got a little, even though we've got a fold line in that we pressed in, but we've got a little curling happening. But that's all right. We know where to fold it.
Yeah.
And we're going to pin it, and then tonight I'm going to sew all that ribbon on. All right, so we've got that. So we're going to do a couple of light pins. We're not going to overpin it because I'm going to be in there doing my homework after I get a couple of dolls for the boutique, not the boutique, Carmel Doll Shop's new website. Once I get those curated, then I'll do this, because if I'm not working every minute of the day, my boss comes and tells me, shouldn't you be doing something? That color is just so gorgeous. Don't you think that's gorgeous?
Mm-hmm, I do.
It's like the color of a, almost like a cantaloupe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Our friend Mary Harris Francis, you met her. Didn't you meet her? the lady from Kansas City?
I don't think I never did.
Oh, you never
No.
met her?
No.
Oh, that's right. When she came to visit us, no one else could be there because anybody that took away any attention from her was forbidden. She loved this color, and her home was painted this color, and it was gorgeous. So we're going to fold that little puppy over. You might have to do a little clip on there.
Yes, it's not going to show.
Yeah.
It's not going to show if I do the clip there.
Yeah.
I almost got
That's got it. Yeah.
Okay, looking pretty good.
Looking good. Mm-hmm. Now, normally we would fit this on a doll as we're working with underwear, and Lillian doesn't have a chemise on or anything like that. But in this case, this type of dress, it does not matter. Oh, that looks really good. It doesn't matter because this is going to be so tight that you won't believe it. So that looks great. Now, the question is, we've got to tie it on, try it on her to see where we are. Did we make the right call with the length for what we want? Remember, everybody's going to have a different need for the length. So this is, remember, it's going to get pulled up more. And if we pin the back together, then we'll get a real good we'll get a good read on the length. I know that stand is a pain, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wish someone would invent a great stand. They haven't yet. I don't know if it's even possible. From where I'm the fit is looking really, really nice. And by the way, it's going to be much, much tighter than this. Okay, so let's see the length. That's really great. But how you're going to really determine the length is, let's turn up one of our points. And maybe the point in the front. So we're going to pull that up as far as we can without it. I think that's just ideal. And we're just roughing this in because this is not, by that part's not done by any means. But I'm really happy with that. So to add in the modification to the, so now just for fun, Jose, could you measure from the top of the turned over point to the floor?
That will give you about 2 inches.
Okay, so that's just absolutely perfect because the ruffle is going to finish about 2¼ inches. So if you want this length, the other length, the original length is fine, but this we want to do a little longer for this ensemble. So you have to add that inch in, and we showed you, and it's very, very easy. All right, so we're going to be back with the next step. So we've got that all pinned. The next thing we have to do, because we do not want to have this fraying happening, we are going to baste the neckline, and we're going to go up just under 1/8 of an inch. We're going to do this with the machine. You could do it by hand if you like, but we're going to do this by machine. Because this we don't want to have it, we want to have it strong. And I think the stitches help give it a little strength. We're going to do this by machine, and then we're going to do the armholes, and those we're going to do, again, just under 1/8 of an inch. You know, I don't spend a lot of time worrying about fabric unraveling because, you know, if you get in and sew it right away, it doesn't have time to unravel. Sometimes when we have classes, we have people fiddling for 4 hours on something, and of course it's going to unravel. And just so you know, honestly, really, you don't want to sew this out by hand, do you, Jose?
No,
you're gonna have sore fingers. And this was around in the 18th century, this silk file, but it was much, much thinner than it was in the 19th century. So let's see if I can get her out of the way. So we got it. So now we're just going to
clip a little bit.
We're going to do the armholes by hand because we obviously can't get in there. And then we'll come back and we'll clip that. So we are back, and we are going to now work on the sleeves. So we have to have the sleeves prepped. So the first thing we're going to do is, Jose, what are we going to do?
Sorry, you got me infraganti here. Okay, well, you have the silk file on the bottom, and then the lining on top. So
that's ready.
That's ready to go. But okay. I have the machine ready for something else. This is going to be the piping around the sleeve or the armhole, and you need, it'll be 1 inch wide that will get folded in half.
And this is cut on the bias. There is no pattern piece for this, so you have to cut 1 inch, and whether you're doing the 17.5, 18-inch kit, or you're going to do the 14.5 inch, 15-inch kit, you're going to have to cut this on the bias, a piece 1 inch wide, and then take by 7. But it won't be 7 if it's on the smaller side. So what you can do is you can just simply take your measuring tape, and Jose, could you give them an example of how, right, but show them around the where it's going on the arm.
It's going to go around here, the arm.
Yeah, so that's it. So if you do 7, you've got plenty for a mistake.
Yes.
Now I will tell you that this is one of the little fussy parts of this design, because it's not actually a piping, it's a piped kind of trim, but you want them to be even. So if you do it wrong, you got to take it out and do it again so that it's even. Mm-hmm. The reveal.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that tap stitching that I did here on the second piece, and that's 1/8 of an inch.
So you're taking it, folding it in half, you're sewing it at 1/8 of an inch seam. Again, a lot of people have a problem with 1/8 of an inch. 1/8 of an inch is half of a quarter. I'm not good with measuring, so I'm not making fun of everybody. Okay. So we've got those ready.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and sew this together.
So he's sewing this would be what would be ultimately the armhole.
I'm doing
Not the armhole, you're doing the arm opening, the opening. This is the arm opening, so you're doing again 1/8 of an inch.
1/8 of an inch.
And this is another area on this pattern, depending on what kind of doll you have. You might want to, if you've got kind of some unattractive elbows, you might want to do a little bit longer sleeve than this. Now this, then we're going to trim it a little bit, and then we're going to press it out.
Okay, I think we're pretty good.
We're good?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're good. So we're going to press it out like so.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
You want to do the seam towards the silk file.
Yeah, so the seam, the press out is going back. It's going up, I guess would be right. Yeah, it's going up. Shall we do that?
Yes.
Let's do it. We do it right. Because we don't want it to be bunched up, because there is going to be, hold on, let me get into, there is going to be trim, some fairly bulky trim around the
Okay.
arm, opening. Okay, there we go. Got it. There's Lou. He's being a good boy.
Okay, we have our sleeves here. Next step is we're going to sew the sides.
So
And by
show
doing
that again, please. Yeah.
Yes.
So he's going to fold. You see that we're taking the outside and what would be the inside, and then we're folding them over, and there you go.
Making sure you match this.
The lines have to
The
match.
lines have to match. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and paint that.
And this is a lovely way to line a sleeve, because you don't have, I can't stand threads inside sleeves and then fingers get caught in them and then fingers get broken off, and it's just a terrible nightmare. But this is a very elegant technique for a sleeve.
Okay, before I proceed on doing the sewing of these sleeves, I'm just going to make sure that the armholes are going to be the exact amount size. So we need to do 1/2 inch on this. Okay, 1/2 inch on the sleeves, because I'm comparing the armhole to the
Right.
the arm opening. So that would be 1/2 inch
So we're going to do 1/2 inch seam allowance.
seam allowance.
So you did the armhole opening at 1/8 of an inch, but the actual real seam allowance for this tight, tight fitting sleeve, it's not super tight, but it's a 1/2 inch. And then when you do the smaller version, it will be 1/8 of an inch. Everything you do on the smaller version is going to be 1/8 of an inch.
Okay. I'm just going to make sure that this is going to fit.
Lillian.
How this will fit.
Oh, yes,
I think-
perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. It's perfect snugness without being too tight.
I'm gonna clip this a little bit. I'm going to open the seam because if that way, when you turn it out, inside out, it will not give you that bulkiness underneath the arm. Okay,
Right.
so I'm gonna use my pointer and I'm gonna go ahead and press this open. Okay.
Okay, we're going to do that. So this is one area where pressing is really, really important because you don't want it to look like she's got, underarm pads in her sleeve. And they did, by the way, use underarm pads in this era for perspiration, but we don't want her to have that look. And she's got pretty substantial arms as it is, so we don't want it to be overly. And you have to press straight across because ultimately these two seams are going to be kissing.
Okay.
There's the Lou. You see that he had his little arm shaved when he went to the doctor.
So to turn it out, you will need to basically grab the silk file. Don't grab the underlining, okay?
So you just pull it through. Get that. They make all kinds of nice little suture tools for this. If you have a problem, you just get those and go to your dentist and say, "If I'll have."
Can I borrow?
Yeah, that's what I do. I said, when they can only use them so long, and then I ask for them. You don't ask, you don't know if they'll give them to you or not.
Okay,
there you go.
That's what you want.
So then the next thing we'll do is we will base the two pieces together, and we're going to do that within an eighth of an inch, because the seam allowance for the actual setting in the sleeve is going to be half an inch. So that basting won't show. And then once this is set in, it's also going to have, it will be bound with the silk also once it's finished. So we'll pin that, and we do have another little ditty that we're going to do after this. So this is, although it looks like that went fairly easy, we haven't gotten to the hard part yet, have we?
No,
No.
no,
Not yet.
Not yet.
But we can do it.